Hey, folks, I am with a very special author today on his special launch day. Alex Freytag, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Carrie. Thank you. Great to be
Oh,
here.
man. Listen, I love everything about this book. Um,
Thank you.
I really do. Listen, we're going to get into the book itself, but first of all, for people who don't know about you, maybe the 5 people in the world. Um, no, because seriously, everyone I talk to, really, honestly, they're like, "Oh, Alex Freytag is a great guy, man. He's amazing." And then, "Oh, he started the EOS conference." So, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Quick story is the entrepreneurial journey started back in '96.
Mm,
There's some pre-'96 entrepreneurial sort of tinkering. I made these James Dean T-shirts and sold them out of my locker in high school, and
yeah.
a taste of entrepreneurship. And and I started a company with my brother called ProfitWorks, which still exists today, but it's just in a very different form. And through the years, it evolved, as you know, entrepreneurial companies do. And
Yes.
one of my clients handed me traction in probably 2011, which I
Mm,
didn't read, but I read Get a Grip the next year, and I
yeah.
loved it. And so Get a Grip, and actually that kind of leads to Stretch Not Snap too. But Get a Grip was just inspired for me. Mike Payton and Gino Wickman wrote that. It's a fable, and very easy for this ADD kind of guy to digest. And I went to boot camp and became an EOS implementer. And then
Mm,
during COVID, had a little bit more time, so decided to get out of my head the ProfitWorks stuff. And so co-wrote that book with my then business partner, and we kind of resurgence of interest in incentive plans and employee business literacy, and the two kind of go hand in hand. Although the incentive plan piece is probably the more interesting part for an entrepreneur, and it really comes into this idea, which we'll get into, I'm sure, but around eradicating or ending entitlement mentality in the workplace. So
mm,
that's
mm.
kind of the short story. But most of my time is spent doing EOS. I'm an EOS implementer, and I've been doing it for about 10 years, and absolutely love working with entrepreneurial leadership teams. And then I have a separate business, ProfitWorks, have an integrator, a marketing person, finance, a separate entity there to help companies implement what's talked about in Stretch.
I'll tell you one thing I really love about you too. I mean, besides being a prolific author, I just shared your books, and we'll get into these in here in a moment. But yeah, you've written a bunch. Achieve Your Vision, which moved into a second,
Yeah,
updated, expanded Vision
right.
Works, then Profit Works, which has got a ton of reviews. Super good. I even recommended it the other day when people say, "Hey, I need incentive plans." Great recommendation from Gino on the front cover. And then we're
Yeah.
going to get into this new book here in a moment. But again, one of the things I love about you is that you walk the talk. In other words, you are an EOS implementer, and
Yeah.
you could easily fake it and be like, I don't need one. I don't need an EOS implementer myself. And yet,
Mm.
I just spent Monday with my friend and your integrator, or sorry, your implementer, Matt
Yeah,
Bowers.
that's right. He's
And so,
great.
like, first of all, just give us 60 seconds on why the heck does an EOS implementer need an EOS implementer?
It's a little bit of drinking my own champagne, I guess, and or eating my own dog food or whatever
Yeah, yeah,
metaphor you want.
yeah, exactly.
I gotta live and breathe it, and it really is. I mean, I know what my clients are going through when you're
Yeah.
sitting on the other side, and you have an implementer
Mm,
who's facilitating, teaching, coaching, and it allows my kind of visionary brain to relax a little bit and be in the audience and not having
I
to
love it.
facilitate, look at the clock, run the agenda, all those kinds of things. I can kind of like sit back and like get into all right, what are the big issues? What do we need to address here? And so it's really been beneficial for us to
So
get more
good.
perspective on it. Yeah. And
I
also
think
feeling of being on the other side of the table.
I think it's a great test, everybody who's listening.
Yeah.
Somebody who's offering their coaching services, or in Alex's case, implementer services, to say, who's your coach? Because people can ask me, and I'm like, oh, it's Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach. And
Yeah.
immediately the level of credibility is raised, because we aren't just, you know, the service providers.
Well, I think Eric Schmidt of Google said everybody needs a coach. Like even you look at, basketball, like LeBron James has a coach. I mean, great people have coaches because you just need somebody kind of watching you on the field and pointing out things and saying, maybe try this and you could do this a little better, and cheerleading for you. And it's just it's a great way to get better and up your game.
So
Up
good.
my game, I should say. Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Jordan and all those guys had coaches. Tiger was,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to ask you a question. Like, you came to the table with this new book. And again, I remember the days of us chatting early. I loved the concept about putting your people in positive tension. And then you and I were in this session where, we really began messing with the title, and stretch, not snap is the way it is now. And I think, are you finding people resonate with the concept and the title right away now?
Absolutely. Yeah. Without any context, it might be under sort of diet and exercise, but the idea of a business fable and helping employees get out of their comfort zone, it's just a nice sort of simple way of saying, stretching people to ask more of them, to sort of tap into their potential.
Yep.
And so it requires, and there's, lots of sort of recipes, I guess, in the book of how to do that, or some ideas, nuggets, if you will, to get employees more engaged, to help them understand what tools, what levers they can pull that'll drive improved profitability or increased efficiencies in the organization, or drive margins and so forth, but really helping them start to understand from an owner's perspective how the business works and how they participate in that. And so it's really it's beneficial to the entire organization, because people step into that leadership and they up their game, which is really, because a stretch. And you offered that title for us, which was great. And Stephen Kotler is sort of a huge, I'm a fan of his and his work, and it's not just theory, it's science. It's true. And it applies in our personal lives, how we parent our kids, and also certainly to employees. So stretching people and getting them a little bit uncomfortable, they start to realize, wow, I can do things that I didn't think I might have been capable of. So
I love the title. I'm a big fan of Stephen Kotler, and of course his mentor Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the Hungarian father of flow, who basically says, look, if you get people that are, and you stretch them too much, they will literally become anxious and paralyzed and do nothing. But if you don't stretch them enough, they get bored. And so your book is basically talking about this special place called positive tension.
That's right.
I think it's fantastic. What are the results of somebody who is building a company where their employees have that stretch but not snap?
Well, there are lots of financial results, and then there are lots of sort of cultural or non-financial results. But on the financial side, when you have everybody sort of looking at the business with the eyes of an owner, you're going to drive efficiencies. You're going to drive sort of questioning processes and perhaps improving operational efficiencies, because they start to see the bigger picture of how things work. And that ultimately relates to how the company does. And if there's an incentive plan tied to that company performance, they are actually putting more money in their own pocket through behavioral shifts that they've had. And so the financial side can be huge swings when you've got a workforce of people that are thinking and acting like owners. So lots of great examples there. I mean, again, I've been doing it for 28 years, so I've seen a lot of different industries and large and small organizations. On the cultural side, though, Carrie, it's tough to measure something like that, but there are improvements from the standpoint of morale, retention, that sense of camaraderie and team. With EOS, of course, we have a VTO, which is like the company's vision. And if you can get everybody to understand what do they do to contribute to that vision and how do they benefit when we achieve that vision, there's a sense of winning and that pride of accomplishment, which is sort of the intrinsic value of going down this path in your
Sure.
culture, in an organization, versus the extrinsic, which is the money, the financial side. And not everybody's motivated by that. There's a balance there. So that's what we try to walk that line between, and it's sort of like the stretch, not snap, but walk the line that balances the intrinsic and the extrinsic motivators for the employees, for the business owner, for the leadership team. And so it's been wonderful to see and to get stories told to me years later by folks who implemented this sort of philosophy, which is great.
So good. So it's almost like you're saying that without stretch, then there might be like no scoreboard in some companies. And when there's no scoreboard, talk about the mindset of employees when they aren't like, because if you're looking at the scoreboard and you're like, dang, we're losing, or we're behind, talk about that. Like psychologically, some people I wouldn't agree with would be like, well, you don't want to keep score because, you don't want to wreck people's morale, but how is that actually the worst?
Yeah, I was a psychology major in college, and I didn't know it would kind of lead to all this, but this is very much related to sort of what influences human behavior and shapes the behavior. And so scoreboards, as an example, when you have, good people who are, all in and they're accountable, their core values aligned, they're in the right seat. Most of those folks look at a scoreboard and they start to say, hey, we're behind. What can we do? How do we, close the gap? And they get excited about it. And then they start to brainstorm and process issues and figure out what's in the way. And they rally and they work together as a team and those sorts of softer things as well. But the scoreboard is a motivator.
Yeah.
And a feedback mechanism, instant feedback. And I think there are a lot of teams that either do it annually, where people kind of forget they're playing the game during the year. And they, once a year they say, hey, we didn't have a great year last year, or we did, but people are kind of in the dark, which is kind of the entitlement, comfort zone, and, missed opportunity. And then there are folks that they're really top down, demanding and pushing. And that's like the other side of the bell curve, which is fear and paralysis and that kind of thing. Dog eat dog. So we're trying to find that middle sweet spot of maybe quarterly, monthly, weekly scorecards and so forth, measurables in departments so that people kind of know, okay, if I do this, pull this lever, and this measurable feeds into our department performance and so forth, we have an impact on the company's total performance. There's typically carry like a pretty weak link between like my day-to-day activities and the company's performance. And what we're trying to do is strengthen that link. We call it missing link. Yeah.
I love it. And some people would recognize this book because, like you say, right here in the Amazon description, that it's a fable and it's really a follow-up. And some people are going to read this. What happens if they haven't read Get a Grip? Will it still make sense? Or if they do read this, it'll make even more sense? What do you think?
Yeah, if you haven't read Get a Grip, it's a good place to start, certainly, or Traction. If Traction is sort of the business version of Get a Grip, or you could say it the other way around. But some visionaries, entrepreneurs prefer reading fables, like the Lencioni stuff, and it's just sort of easier to
I like that.
Within the book, within Stretch Not Snap, the EOS terms, if you're not familiar with EOS, are fairly well defined within the context of how they're used. But there is a lingo to EOS that is intentional to create sort of a tribal kind of bonding on a team. It's because it's like a shortcut, like Dan Sullivan talks about shortcuts. But the language of EOS is provides shortcuts and efficiencies to help people move faster. So that's fairly well described in Stretch Not Snap. But you could read Stretch Not Snap first, and then say, I'm going to go back and read Get a Grip, which is now sort of a prequel to
cool.
Stretch, which is cool. Yeah. And it's one way, I should say, Get a Grip is a perfect sort of pure implementation of EOS at a company called Swan Services. And so if you read that, you can see like, if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm going to implement EOS and hire an implementer, this is what it's going to look like typically. And Stretch Not Snap is one sort of evolution that a path they could go down after they've been running on EOS for a number of years, and really running on any operating system. But I'm biased toward EOS, of course.
Oh, I love it. This is so
Yeah.
good. Well, and EOS, I mean, folks, you know, when Alex came to us a few years ago to publish his other book, you know, Alex, I've even said, oh my gosh, I almost apologize because you had just found us when we were just starting EOS. And
That's
as a
right.
company, we weren't really tracking, you know, we weren't in alignment, but now we have, man, we got momentum and growth, and we're firing on all cylinders because, you know, the visionary integrator rocket fuel combo is working, and we know our vision and our core focus. And so
Yeah.
I would just tell everyone that, look, I'm not just Alex's publisher. I believe in this 100%, this book.
Well, it's true, Carrie. The one sort of aha I had when I first read Get a Grip in like 2012 or so was because I've been doing all the sort of the stretch, snot, snap work, the ProfitWorks work prior to that. EOS kind of woke me up to realize we got to get the people component of our business much stronger before, because you can't design an incentive plan. I mean, you can design an incentive plan and try to get it to make your people great. But what I've found is make the people great and then put the incentive plan on top and reward the folks who are right people, right food. And so I saw EOS as sort of like the locomotive, the first thing that had to happen. And some teams come in with pretty strong people component, and you can jump right in and do the incentive plan piece. But it's nice to get a strong people component, then layer the incentive plan on top of it, and then get everybody educated around sort of basic business literacy. What's a P&L? What's gross about gross margin? And what's the difference between profit and cash and those kinds of things, so that they, at a general level, can begin to actively participate in finding the money to fund their incentive plan. So people do the people piece first. Yeah.
And I mean, these are not just the only three benefits, but when people do read Stretch Not Snap, maybe unpack each one of these really quickly. Just why do you think it achieves all these three?
Absolutely. Yeah. The untapped potential is actually on our VTO. It's our passion, is helping people discover their untapped potential. And if people are living in entitlement, I mean, there's one of the big drawbacks to entitlement mentality is that we're robbing people of their ability to grow. And so by asking more of them, by setting clear expectations around behavior, core values, scorecards, and measurables, which would be indicators that show whether you're doing well in your job and so forth. The profit trigger on the incentive plan, we're getting people to really unleash their potential, which is so cool. So that's big. It does take time, but it depends on what kind of culture you're trying to create in your organization, what kind of legacy you're trying to leave. And getting everybody to think, number two, they're getting everybody to think and act like an owner is very beneficial, because everybody kind of can see something in their line of sight that can be done better. And so we're asking them to put on the eyes or the glasses, I guess, of an owner to say, wow, these things I see a little bit differently now. I have a different perspective on it. I'm elevating in my how far I can look out, instead of just like tonight or tomorrow or this week. We're starting to have them look out next quarter and this year and maybe 3 years, and start to think and act like an owner does. So it's really powerful to get everybody, all the arrows, not just the leadership team or the owner, in that direction. And then really it leads to that shared by all, which is, we talk about the drumbeat. You just have to keep repeating the vision over and over. We say 7 times for people to hear it for the first time. And so we try to teach teams how to do that really effectively, when to do it, what content to put in there, and get everybody pretty excited about the vision.
So good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share where people can find out more about this. I mean, literally, you got the domain Stretch Not Snap.
Yeah.
What? Stretch Not Snap.
Straight up.
Shut up.
Straight up. Yeah.
How did you get that?
Well, through your guidance. Thank you again. So grab it. Don't search on it. Just grab it is what we did.
That is amazing. I mean,
yeah. So it's very cool. It makes it easy to communicate. It goes right to our ProfitWorks landing page, and then you can find us there if we can help you. And it sort of spells out our proven process and so forth. So it's exciting. We're developing a plan where people can get coached on this to be able to be a ProfitWorks coach, and they can help their clients with this process. And we're also putting together automation so that folks can come here and design their own incentive plans, or do it yourself, do it with me, and then we have certainly a do it for me. And so there are different versions of this that are evolving and taking shape. So it's a lot of fun to meet people that are excited about this as we are.
So that's really the big picture, is that the ProfitWorks brand becomes something that certifies people, licenses people. Is this true?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fun.
Yeah.
The model has been an evolution. This model here that you have on the screen, and you know, it was clunky, and we've started to tighten it up, and it does become a self-perpetuating model where your annual planning leads to your incentive plan. Make sure it's aligned there, and then keep doing the education in the blue there. And then as you go through your planning process, update your incentive plan each year to make sure it's aligned with your budget and so forth. And there are lots of sort of hints and nuggets and best practices in the books that'll help you strengthen that connection there. But the arrows are important. It is a perpetuating process forever, because we've got to keep educating people. You hear gross margin, you hear sales and EBITDA and these things maybe every week. Some of these folks don't hear that at all, or maybe quarterly. You have to be reminded, and it's just repetition. We say 7 times to hear it for the first time again. So,
oh man, that's so good. So I know you have some big things coming up, EOS conference.
Yep. Yes.
You're doing your own. How many days do you do your thing?
For EOS? I do in a year, because I follow the strategic coach sort of philosophy, about 100 days a year of EOS sessions, and about 155, 160, not sure what I wrote down for 2024, but in that are free days, and then the remaining are buffer days. So I try to control that and be loyal to it, and you know how that is. But always trying to get better at it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
What are your maybe last question? What are your colleagues thinking? I know the book just came out. It's been highly endorsed by a lot of people I respect. What do you think is going to happen with this book?
Well, my hope is that it inspires people. I'm excited about it. It's something that's a passion project for me. I love helping entrepreneurs, and so as a teacher, as a coach, as a facilitator, if the book gets into folks' hands and they just get excited about it and want to teach it, I'm happy to help there. If they need help, if they're an entrepreneur and want help, I'm happy to help there as well. So it is really about impact for me. If people get excited about the book and want to share it with others and are become passionate about it, start to see a bigger game that we're playing here with culture. It is a transformation of a culture over time when companies go down this path to sharing more information with their workforce and asking more from them. And so I'm excited to see how it impacts small business, entrepreneurial businesses, and just excited to be a part of it, really.
So good.
Yeah, thank you.
I've read it. I love it. I think the subtitle says it all. Create a self-funded incentive plan, end employee entitlement, and get your vision shared by all. That's a big claim, but you know what? It does it. And Gino Wickman's name is right across the top. I love it. But it is, folks, stretchnotsnap.com. And Alex, thanks for publishing this incredible book.
Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate all your help and all your influence and advice. I really appreciate working with you. Thank you.
Awesome, folks. Grab a copy today. Whether you are a employee, get it for your boss. Show your boss that you're excited. And if you're a boss, start getting your team to go through this as a book study. That would be powerful. So thanks so much, Alex Freytag, for being here today.
Absolutely.